What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Lions video. Now, early in the offseason, we made a video talking about the Detroit Lions' biggest needs going into the offseason. And although that video, I feel at the time, was very accurate, things have changed for the Detroit Lions. Over the past couple of months, throughout the entirety of the offseason, the Lions have had a lot of change and have arguably seen more change than any other NFL organization. They've signed 13 different free agents. They've had 3 trades involving current or former players. They have had 11 of their free agent members, 11 people from their free agent class signed away, as well as releasing 8 more players on top of that. Not to mention the dozens of coaching hires and front office moves that have taken place to get the Lions where they are today. Bottom line, the Lions are a very different team now than when that last video was made. And in today's video, I wanted to readdress the question and readdress what the Lions' biggest needs are going into the NFL draft. Now, before we get into the video and before we start talking about the Detroit Lions' biggest needs, if you're new to the channel and you're enjoying the content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It takes just 2 seconds out here to do so. It's quick, free, and easy, and you would be helping the channel out more than you could possibly know. And if you do enjoy the content and you want a way to go above and beyond while earning special perks along with it, you could always go and become a member of the channel. Link to that would be, of course, in the description. But with that being the case, and with all that out of the way, let's get into the Detroit Lions' biggest needs post free agency and what they need to target moving into the NFL draft. Now, for me, the first thing that I notice and the first thing that I look towards when I look at big team needs right now, and the number one need I think the Lions need to address in the draft is the linebacker position, mostly because it hasn't changed a lot from last season. Now, this does not mean I want the Lions to draft a linebacker at 7. However, I do believe that this position is the biggest importance and will have the biggest impact on the Detroit Lions, depending on who they draft, depending on if they draft one, and depending on who starts there next season. Now, the linebacking core right now, I actually don't think is that bad, and I think it has gotten better over the offseason. You have Jamin Davis, who's there, who's probably your best linebacker right now. Jelani Tavai is there. A lot of people think he's going to get cut. Dion Hamilton, I think, is a really good addition to the team. Good athletic linebacker. Young guy, can still develop a little bit. You have Anthony Pittman, who's a guy that, is likely not going to make the roster, but is still there for competition. Jalen Reese-Maybin and Alex Anzalone are both very athletic, really good coverage linebackers. So the linebacking core to me isn't bad, and I think it actually has improved a little bit. Of course, your biggest loss was Christian Jones and Jamin Davis, but you replaced them with Alex Anzalone and Dion Hamilton. Those are not bad players. I would say Alex Anzalone is probably better than Jamin Davis right now, and I would say that, Dion Hamilton is far better than what you had in Christian Jones. However, the linebacking core to me just doesn't have a big, great linebacker, right? It has a couple guys that can do their jobs here and there, but they don't have that one dominant player in the middle. They don't have that one big time captain, the guy that can make all the big plays, the guy that can give you everything you need in a linebacker. They don't have that one big time linebacker in the middle, and they don't have that big time captain of the defense. Now, I think the Lions can go a lot of different ways with linebackers, and I think that the linebacking core for the Lions is probably one of their weaker positions. Last season, not a lot happened for the Lions. The linebackers did not make a lot of plays for the Lions this season to go, and the linebacking core has not changed significantly enough for me to say that it's going to get significantly better in the 2021 season. Now, as I said, there are a lot of ways the Lions can address this linebacker position in the draft. Of course, I don't want the Lions to go linebacker at 7. I don't think the value is there. If the Lions are going to trade down, there are a lot of really good linebackers. This is a really good deep linebacker class. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is my linebacker 1. I think he can be that big dominant presence in the middle that really transforms your defense, a guy that you can mold your defense around, and a guy that can just really go off and make a lot of plays for you. Micah Parsons has a ton of athletic upside as well. He's not really my second linebacker on the board, but he is a guy that I think has tremendous upside. He's a guy that I think can do really good things in the NFL if put in the right situation, and I think his potential is incredibly high for the NFL. You have Jamin Davis, who's a really good linebacker prospect. You have Zaven Collins, Baron Browning, Jabril Cox, Pete Warner, Dylan Moses. You have Nick Bolton. you have Cameron McGrone, all guys that I think are going to be really good linebackers in the NFL. And all of these linebackers are guys in which I think are going to make a lot of plays, right? You have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Micah Parsons, you have Jamin Davis, you have Zaven Collins, and Baron Browning, and you could even throw Jabril Cox in there. Those are really big athletic linebackers. Those are all guys that can move, all guys that have coverage ability, all guys that have all the tools to succeed, and all guys that the Lions do not have. The Lions don't have that one linebacker that has all the tools for success. The Lions do not have a linebacker with the upside of being a truly dominant player. And all of those guys, from Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah all the way down to Jabril Cox, that's 5, 6, 7 linebackers that all have tools to be elite linebackers in the NFL. And I think the Lions need to address this, if not once, maybe even twice in the NFL draft. The linebacking core has been struggling quite a bit recently. I mean, the entire defense has been struggling recently, but the Lions have addressed the secondary a lot. The Lions have addressed the defensive line quite a bit, and the only real thing on defense they haven't really significantly addressed was the linebacking position, which makes me think that they're going to get a linebacker in the draft, and makes me think that they are, of course, as I said, the linebacking core hasn't changed, and the Lions still need some guys that can make plays. Now, the second need for this team as of right now, the second need I see for this team is actually addressing the safety position. Now, this is not necessarily because I don't like Tracy Walker as the starter. I love Tracy Walker. I think he's going to be a really good safety next year. I think he's going to take huge steps forward with Aaron Glenn and Aubrey Pleasant being his new coaches. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. But behind that, behind Tracy Walker, you don't have a lot of talent. You really, really don't have a lot of depth. The Lions safety core right now consists of Tracy Walker, Will Harris, Jalen Elliott, Bobby Price, CJ Moore, and Dean Marlowe. That is one starting caliber safety in Will Harris, 2 potential guys, right? I think Jalen Elliott and Bobby Price have some real potential, but I'm not going to throw out 2 rookies, 2 guys that have never played snaps in the NFL, and give them a big part and have them be a key part of my defense. You have a guy in Will Harris who's probably going to get moved to linebacker if he's even going to try to save his career at this point. You have a guy in Dean Marlowe and CJ Moore who are just special teams guys, right? They're not starting caliber safeties. So with that being the case, with the Lions only really having one real big time starter, one guy that I feel comfortable putting out there every single play on the defense, safety needs to be addressed in this draft, right? I don't think the secondary is as bad as people think. The cornerback position has been addressed really well by the Detroit Lions with Quentin Dunbar and Corn Elder, and some other guys that have come in and out, some other guys that have gone around the NFL, and some guys that the Lions have on the roster right now, I think is a decent cornerback room. However, the safety position is incredibly deep. So if you look at this class, right, obviously you're not going to take a safety in the first round. There's not really a guy there that fits it. However, starting in the second round, you have guys like Trayvon Moehrig, Richie Grant, Javon Holland, Jamar Johnson, you have Andre Cisco, you have a bunch of guys, a bunch of safeties. Again, just like the linebacking core, you might not have that big time player at the top, but you do have a really, really deep class of safeties where each and every one of the guys, each and every one of those 4, 5 players are going to start on this defense, right? Andre Cisco would start in this defense. You have Jamar Johnson would start in this defense. Javon Holland or Richie Grant or Trayvon Moehrig would all start in this defense, and those are not the only guys, but the Lions do need to address this secondary. The Lions do need to address the safety position, because if you're just going to throw out Tracy Walker and somebody else, like, there's not another safety on the roster right now that I would feel comfortable starting at the strong safety position. I would assume Tracy Walker is going to play that free safety. So if you're going to get a guy to start at strong safety, I don't really feel comfortable starting any of those other guys at safety. This is a position the Lions need to address. Again, very similarly to the linebacker, it's a position that has not been addressed really by the Detroit Lions. Of course, Dean Marlowe, but he's more of a special teams player, and he's really not a starter for this defense. To me, I don't see him being a starter in this defense. So expect the Lions to go safety early in the draft. Expect the second, third round for the Lions to get a safety with a lot of high upside, a lot of potential, and a guy that can step in and play a lot immediately while still developing and growing into potentially a great player. Now, the third need for this team, the third player or the third position I think the Lions need to address in this draft is actually the wide receiver position. Now, this is a position that has seen by far the most change on the Detroit Lions, and people don't necessarily think this is a good wide receiving core. Now, that is, of course, up for debate. I think this team has some talent. I think this core has some talent, and I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people think it is. I don't think it's as bad as many people are making it out to be. However, the wide receiver core as of right now consists of Tyrell Williams, Khalif Raymond, Damon Ratley, Brashad Perryman, Tommy Kennedy, Victor Bolden Jr., Quintez Cephas, and Geronimo Allison. Now, all of those receivers, with the exception of Quintez Cephas, are on one-year deals. All of them. Each and every one of those 7 to 8 wide receivers that are on the roster, everybody except for Quintez Cephas will not be on the roster a season from now, unless, of course, they get re-signed. So with that being the case, I do think the Lions need to address the wide receiver position. I think they need to draft 1 to 2 wide receivers. I'd like to see a big body guy, a jump ball wide receiver, maybe a Nico Collins, a guy that has really good contested catch ability, a guy that has worked on his route running, has worked on his separation in his time after he opted out of the 2020 season. And then I'd like to see his speed as well. I'd like to see the Lions bring in a young, speedy wide receiver. Maybe that's Elijah Moore. Maybe it's Rondale Moore. Maybe it's Dwayne Eskridge Jr. Maybe it's Demetric Felton. Maybe it's Jalen Darden. But regardless of who they bring in, I think the Lions really do need to address this wide receiver position in the NFL draft. Now, again, I don't think they should address this need with 7. I don't think the value is there at the 7th overall pick for a wide receiver. Not to say Jamar Chase or Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith won't be great players. However, I think the class is the deepest position group in the NFL draft. You can get a starting caliber guy on day 3 of the draft, and you can get a guy that's going to give you a lot of production very, very early in the draft, or very, very late in this NFL draft. So when you're looking at the Detroit Lions, yes, they have a lot of need to address the wide receiver, but they don't necessarily need to address it at 7 because the class is so incredibly deep. Now, some other positions I think the Lions could address, I think they're a little bit less of needs, but picks that I still think could be really impactful for the Lions. I think the Lions do need to address the tackle position. I think they should take a right tackle, and as I've said multiple times, if the Lions are stuck at 7, I want them to take an offensive tackle, whether it be Rashawn Slater, whether it be Penny Sewell, or if the Lions fall and maybe they take Tevin Jenkins, I want the Lions to take an offensive lineman and complete the O-line. Not because O-line is necessarily the biggest need, and not because we'd necessarily be drafting for need in this situation or at the 7th overall pick, but because I think the tackle, whatever tackle is there, whether it be Rashawn Slater or Penny Sewell, will be the best player available and will actually have the biggest long-term effect on the Detroit Lions. So I think tackle is a big need for the Lions. I think it is something the Lions are going to look to address, whether it be early in the first round at 7 or they trade down middle of the first round to get still a high-quality tackle. I think they're going to address it very early in the draft. And then I think running back is another one that could be addressed by this Lions team. Not a pick that should be taken high, not a luxury pick that the Lions can really afford with the 2nd round pick, the 3rd round pick, etc. But a guy that on day 3, right? A guy like Trey Sermon in the 5th round, a guy like maybe Chuba Hubbard in the 6th round, a guy that has a lot of potential, a guy that showed a lot of flash in college, but isn't going to get the most carries, isn't going to be the highest quality of running back, but a guy that can be productive, a guy that can come in, be kind of your 3rd down, your rotational guy, because right now the Lions have 3 running backs on the roster. They have DeAndre Swift, Kerryon Johnson, and Jamal Williams. You can't go into the NFL season with 3 running backs, and this running back class is really good. This running back class is pretty deep in its own right. As I said, Trey Sermon will likely go in the 5th round. Chuba Hubbard maybe in the 6th round. Like, you can get some home run hitters. You can get some high potential guys with some later picks, or even if you wait till UDFA, I think you can get a couple really nice UDFA running backs that are going to fall out of this class. But with that being the case, that is all I have for you guys today. Those are my biggest needs for the Lions. That is how I see the team, and that is the current state I see them in right now. I think linebacker is the biggest position of need. I think safety is the most shallow position, but they do have a really good starter there in Tracy Walker. And then wide receiver, just simply because there is a lot of one-year contracts. And to be honest, it's not the most talented room, but it's a room that I think can work this year while the Detroit Lions look to draft up and look to get youth and some more, of course, longer contracts in that wide receiver room. And then the offensive tackle and the running back would probably be picks that aren't the most needy, aren't necessarily positions at the top of the list for needs, but positions I think are still very important for the Lions to address. Now, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching the video. If you did enjoy the content, as I said in the beginning, please consider liking the videos and subscribing for the channel. And of course, let me know down in the comments below what you think the Lions' biggest needs are after free agency and going into the NFL draft. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys think about it. But with that being the case, with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching the video. As I said, if there's more Lions news or more rumors to come out, I will make another video on it. But until then, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I'll see y'all tomorrow with some more Lions content. Thank y'all for watching, and go Lions.